Ready, Bruce? Okay. I'd like to call the meeting of the Rockport Select Board to order for June 25th, 2018, 7 p.m. First thing I'd like to do is welcome our two new board members, Deborah Hall and Jeffrey Hamilton, duly elected by the citizens. So welcome, and we're here tonight to do the business of the citizens of Rockport.
Thank you.
There's no public hearing tonight. We do have some minutes to approve here from Thursday, December 7th, Monday, the 12th, Monday, December 18th, Thursday, June 5th, and Wednesday, June 13th. The first three were all basically library discussion meetings. Several of the people weren't here for those. The June 5th was the discussion we had about the school board, and on the 13th was the select board organizational meeting. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I move we approve December 7th, December 12th, December 18th, 2017, and June 5th, 2018 Select Board meetings.
Okay, do you want to include June 13th?
Well, we all
can't-
can vote on that one.
Yeah, there's different people can vote on them.
Oh,
because
that's
people were
true.
here or not
Okay.
here. I think that the first four, I think, is the three of us were
Three of
all
us
at
will.
those meetings, I believe.
Yeah, is there a
I'll second that
second?
motion to approve those minutes as presented.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor of those eligible to vote? Vote is 3-0 in favor. Now I'll need a motion to approve the minutes of June 13, which was our select board organizational meeting.
I move we approve June 13, 2018 meeting of the Select Board for organizational purposes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion, corrections, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I-
and
Mr. Chair, I do have one thing on.
I abstain on that one. I
yes,
wasn't
because you
there.
weren't there.
I do have one thing with regards to the minutes. Previous boards have asked Linda to do an in-depth writing of the minutes, and I think we all perhaps know that the only thing that's required is the motion and who seconds it and who voted for it, I think, are the three things. So I would like to put out there that we should try to lessen her load, if you would. No offense, Linda, you do a fine job, but I think you've got a lot of other stuff that's far more pressing, and as long as there is a recording of the meeting, I think we would be fine with just those items, if that's something the board.
We've asked that before, I believe, because
Yeah.
all that needs to be there is the motions, and the vote has to be recorded properly. And as you say, Linda does a terrific job of trying to capture what goes on in the discussion and things of that nature. And back when I started on the board and we didn't have the live stream, it was a little more difficult for the public to perhaps go back and find out what actually happened. But the live stream now is, people can go right to where they want to go and see the discussion if they so desire, so.
I think if we knew we weren't going to have live stream or some other recording opportunity, I think we might have her back, but, to do a more in-depth writing, but for the time being, I think we should, I don't know if that takes any type of vote or motion or.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is this something we need to put on next month's agenda and then discuss it and sort of make a vote, or is that something we as a board can just do by fiat?
The only one that's really affected is here.
Right.
Yeah. Linda, do you have any thoughts?
I'll do whatever you ask.
Perfect.
One of the things we're doing is trying to, is to do a backup to get a backup of the live stream, a separate backup for us, so that in case something happened with live stream, we have our own backup of the live stream stuff. And so Gus is working on that as well.
Well, that's right, the live stream lives on their website.
On their
doesn't it?
website. So we're trying to work out a system that we can have our own backup of the live stream data.
So, Mark, how would you envision that working then? Would Linda not have to attend these meetings, but she would then review the live stream the next morning and pick out the motions? Would she be here but just write down the motions and the votes? How do you?
I would suspect that there'd have to be an actual person here to do that, to write down the motions, the seconds, and the votes.
Okay.
Granted, it's a bit of an inconvenience for the evening, but it's a lot less work in the long run for our town clerk.
Okay, so what we're asking is the full formal minutes of the meeting would constitute the live stream production, and Linda then would just be responsible for getting the motions and the votes.
Well, and the written minutes are still the official minutes by law.
Right.
So the live stream can augment that, but Mark is right, the requirement of the minutes is only that the wording of the motions be there, that the votes for the motions be recorded, and any action taken by the board be recorded. So I do think that we could easily slim the minutes down somewhat, and as long as we have everything there as required by law, because we do have to admit the possibility that the live stream could, in some
Sure.
respects, fail on one given night or whatever, and if we don't have somebody here to record things, heaven knows us up here are not going to do a very good job of that, so.
Do our two new members have any thoughts? Kind of early in the game.
I would do, I certainly support that direction. I guess I would just add a little bit of a modification to that in the sense that in a prior life, I was a town clerk, a village clerk, and I've been a corporate secretary for corporations. And I would say that I know that by law, we only have to record the motions and et cetera, but I think that there should be, just a couple of sentences about the essence of the conversation. That there should be something a little bit more there. But certainly not, Deborah said this, Doug said this, the kind of detail that we have now.
Okay, it's a slippery slope. Where do you,
So I think
It's-
it's pretty straightforward. You capture the motion, the second, the vote, obviously the details of what you voted on, and then 4 or 5 bullets underneath that capture, this was discussed, that was discussed, but not the he said, she said verbatim conversation.
I mean, along those lines, I would support something like, the board had a discussion where the following points were brought up. And I think, and if you're going to do that, then it's important, I think, to note perhaps if the public made a comment, not necessarily naming, it could be something in there such as, 4 members of the public commented and these points were raised, or something like that.
Exactly, something, that's very consistent with what
But
I'm
it's,
suggesting.
I know it's hard, because then you have to be an editor, and you have to figure out what do you include and what do you not include. But I guess I would suggest from the board that Linda try it out for a little while and see how it goes, and the board can take a look at it and see how things are going, and see how it's affecting your workload and things of that nature.
And we can always scale it back to just the motions.
Right.
yeah, and I want to be fair to Linda too, make sure she understands what we're asking of her. It's been a little bit of a vague conversation. I hope you got the gist of it. The minimum is the motions and the votes, and then if you fill in around the edges, that'll probably be fine, so. Okay, great. Good, thank you, Mark. Upcoming select board meetings. I just want to draw people's special attention to the meeting that's on Monday, July 9th, 7 o'clock here in the Jeffrey Parker room. That's not the one I wanted to. That's our next regular select board meeting. The one that I do want to bring their attention to is Monday, July 23rd, 6 o'clock here in the Jeffrey Parker room. This is going to be a special select board meeting where we will be inviting the non-voting taxpayers to meet the select board, listen to their concerns, answer any questions they might have. This has not been done before, to my knowledge. There are other towns in New England that do this, notably some down in Massachusetts. Again, it's a significant portion of this town's population that's in that situation. They're non-voting, but they're taxpayers, and I think any communication we can keep open with those folks will just help in general. So we're trying to put together an email list of those people so they can all be invited. It's a little bit difficult to identify each and every person. We're working on it, but if you have friends or neighbors, if there's people out there listening tonight I would just make sure they know that it's Monday, July 23rd, 6 PM here.
Is that a meeting or a workshop?
Well, what do you say?
That's, it depends on whether you contemplate.
I guess I don't really,
Taking any board action.
yeah, I guess it would be a workshop then, because I don't anticipate any action. This is just a getting to know you session, so I
And
guess
there
we
might
should.
be action that's taken on the next meeting.
Yeah.
Right,
That
right.
we can add on the 9th of
Future
July.
meeting.
Okay,
Or at some other future meeting.
so let's call it a workshop, a special select board workshop. Ken?
I think that, I give you the credit, Doug, because you brought this up as an idea to me many months ago when we talked about it, and I think that the important thing here is that some of these non-voting taxpayers, first of all, they pay a lot of taxes to the town, but secondly, we want to make them feel a part of the community, even though they can't come to town meeting and vote, and they can't vote in our elections, and they can't vote for or against us, but they are a part of the fabric of the community, and to be able to listen to them and hear their concerns, I think, is the wise thing to do.
And this also, if I might, is a spin-off to what Doug was talking about with the business forum. You know, if this is any type of success, then perhaps we can spin it out to the businesses in town.
Okay. All righty. Let's see, on Monday, July 16th, I need a motion to,
It's in the agenda.
oh, is it? Okay. Well, there's going to be an internal control policy workshop, which is basically just going to be reviewing recommendations that our auditor has been made. The annual select board goals workshop, a doodle poll will be going out in the near future for us to set up a time for that. Committee openings, agenda changes. Do we?
Do you want to
Yeah.
hit the sail into summer?
Oh, is that the announcement?
Yeah,
Okay.
the sail into summer event has been postponed from Thursday because we're expecting rain.
May I back up just a whisker?
Okay. Yes, Mark.
I'd like to have our two new board members have copies of the previous 2 years' goals, so they'll have some idea as to what has been laid out, so
Okay.
that they don't try to
Okay, yeah.
duplicate efforts.
Okay, good idea. You want to do the Holiday in the Harbor thing
Yeah,
again, the singing to summer, sailing to summer?
Yeah, the event, Sail into Summer, which is scheduled for Thursday, beginning with the unveiling of the Andre the Seal statue with music and some windjammers here and a bunch of events going on down in the harbor. Because of the potential for rain on Thursday and storms on Thursday, they decided to move that event till Saturday, same time, beginning at 3 o'clock with the unveiling of the Andre statue. And then luckily, the bands are all available that we had booked for Thursday, so they're still available on Saturday. So everything will just shift over to Saturday instead of Thursday night.
Okay. Do we have any agenda changes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we take item I under new business, corrective action consent agreement, and move it to the very beginning of the new business portion of the meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All righty, any discussion? Any votes? All in favor?
Okay.
The vote is unanimous. Let's see, public comment. Does anyone here have any public comment tonight to address issues that aren't under discussion? Seeing none, we'll go right to the town manager's report. We've started getting the town manager's report ahead of time so that we can review it and then really ask questions of the town manager rather than have him just read his report verbatim. The report also gets mailed out to our local newspapers, and so it's printed and online, so the public has a chance to review it. So at this point, though, I'd like to open the discussion to our select board and town manager for any
I just
questions.
have one addition. Under the finance section, we were able to go through our budget today. We did, Megan is now doing daily accounts receivable to see where we are financially. And remember, we were thinking we were tightening our belt to help cover the cost of the upgrades to our security for cybersecurity and all of that. Well, we've done very well, so we're going to be able to get all of that stuff paid for without having to dip into reserves or use UFB, and we're still going to end up the year with some cash turned back into the town to, we're still trying to determine that exact amount. One of the things that, as you remember, we were talking about, we pulled the plug or pulled back on some paving and some sidewalk improvement and those things, so we'll be asking the board for the ability to put that into, roll that over into next year, and that'll come forward at the next board meeting. There's some sidewalk improvements that weren't done, and $28,000 worth of paving that's sitting idle. So, but at the end of the day, I think we'll probably still end up with, in spite of everything, rolling in about $50,000 into the UFB on top of whatever else we end up at the end of the year, so.
So considering our unexpected expenditures with the Annis Bridge
Right.
and the cyber problems, I mean, we theoretically could have been 150 to
Oh, yeah.
200,000
Yep.
to the good.
Yep. Yeah, so we're in good shape. Department heads cut back. I've loosened up the reins a little bit to allow them to get some of the things that were kind of hanging out there, but we'll still turn over money at the end of the year.
And if I might, with regards to the encumbering of the money for paving and such, I mean, I hope, because we had talked earlier about getting rid of or using some of the encumbered monies from 8 years ago that are still sitting there.
Didn't we got rid of those, didn't we?
A lot of them
I think there's still a lot that are.
Well, I think there may be a few
years
left,
back.
but I don't think there's any that are 8 years old anymore. We
Yeah, we got rid of a
brushed
lot of
those
those.
off the books, and I'm
Yeah.
all for getting rid of
Yep.
all of them. I mean, the purpose for encumbrances is if you had budgeted money for a current budget year and you, for whatever reason, you didn't get around to doing the project or spending the money on that thing, to then be able to say, okay, that money was set for that purpose, we'll get it done, it'll just be a little bit later. But when it goes on years and years and years,
Well, I
it's a
only say
problem.
that just as sort of a nudge to see if we can get it out of there
No.
after July 1st.
I think it's about $28,000 in paving that we'll be asking you for, and then there's another $5,000, I think, in sidewalk construction to do the sidewalk over on West Street from Pascal up to where we repaired where we added the new sidewalk. Along that piece of that Pascal where it looks like there's no sidewalk there now, and to get that sidewalk in. And then it seemed like there was one other place Mike had another sidewalk project that he wanted to work on.
But you'll have a list of
Yes,
this
right.
next month.
Yep.
Okay. A couple of things, I have a question, and if you
Go
can
ahead.
make a note, because I'm actually going to want you to write some things down. Let's see, first of all, follow up on the online car registration. Now, I know we're working on this, and it says things are in place to make it happen, but this is something I feel very strongly that we should implement. I think the citizens in town, we're here serving at their pleasure, and many other towns already do this. So can you give us a date when we can expect that to start up? I've also had some inquiries from citizens. So can we set a deadline? What do you think is a reasonable?
I'm gonna look over at when that's by the end of July? Can we do it by the end of July?
Can I give us more time? And the reason I'm asking is Shay's going on vacation for 2 weeks in July.
Oh, okay.
I
So,
need to take some vacation.
Yep.
We have 30-day notices to do. We have liens to do. So if we can have maybe, let's say, I'd like to ask for even September 1st, but maybe August 1st.
Could everything be set up and just waiting for people to get back to get the training?
well, yeah, think we're pretty much, excuse me, pretty much all set up. That will be a problem, is having people not be here to get trained.
I offer that
Well,
we
yeah.
push for September 15 start and call it good. That's doable.
September 15, you're generous, but okay, so September 15, September 15. The only thing that I can tell the select board will have to make a decision on about this is, and I guess we can put this on our next agenda, from what I can gather from the website and talking with some people, is that to implement this policy, there's an additional fee, and there's two ways that that fee can be handled. One is the municipality can absorb it, or two, the fee can be passed directly through to the user.
Right. And they already made that decision when we went to the credit cards.
Okay, so that's
So we're-
been taken
we're
care
all
of?
set, yeah.
Okay, so we won't even have to make that decision. So September 15th. Other things I would like follow-up on, if we could, next month, Rick, would be, in our last budget, we passed, we agreed to purchase a bunch of various items and stuff. And so can we get an update on, like, where the town generator's going to be, when we think we'll get that, when the fog lines might be painted?
Hold on, you're going too fast.
Okay, that's why I said, do you have a pen?
Yep.
The Central Street wall.
Yep.
Okay, so those I'd like follow-up on.
So to give you a follow-up on the generator, at least, hold on. Follow-up on the generator is, we've developed the the bid proposal, the bid document. I've sent that off to our engineer to take a look at it and do some modification. We may need to send it out to an electrician, because nobody in Will's office does that kind of work directly. But we do have I got a document from the town of, who did it just recently? Falmouth, I think, put a generator in their town office, and they developed a really good bid proposal.
Okay.
So-
Well, again, rather than address these things tonight,
Yep.
how about just rolling them to next
Into my
month?
manager's report.
Yeah, next month. And also in that, I'd like an update on the rainwater intrusion, what our progress has been made on that.
Oh, yes, yep.
And let's see, the Central Street wall repair.
Yeah, you got me on that one already.
Okay, and you also mentioned the Report It and Fix It software program. Do we have an implementation date for that?
September 1st, I believe.
September 1st, okay. You want to make it the 15th, so,
I think that's the date he quoted us. I believe he's already started working on it.
okay. All right, but so we're shooting for September 1st?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's what the date, September 1st.
And vehicle use policy. Now, this is something that's kind of been brewing out there for a while. When do you think that'll be completed and ready for us to?
There was, Mark brought up something that wasn't in the policy, which we were down to the last bits of it. Now that we've got a bunch of stuff behind us, I can get back on that. We were down to the last pieces of that. Mark brought up something that really should get written into the policy, which is how we store the vehicles at night, and put that in the policy, so that I need to just write that into the policy, and I don't think it's a problem. It's just a matter of getting it in, and then it's a matter of when do you want to see it when do you want to schedule a meeting to discuss it?
July 9th?
Do you have,
What do you mean, the regular
We
meeting?
have a regular meeting July 9th.
I was gonna suggest, maybe we could piggyback it with a workshop for the internal control policies, can we? Because
Yeah.
it seems like the vehicle use policy will be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that requiring a lot of discussion, but if we could have it, it's always good to have these policies in a workshop form so that we can go
So
through
the-
Okay.
and make our nitpicking comments then, and then have it ready to vote on at a meeting.
At the
So-
next meeting.
Okay.
So.
All righty, so let's
at
piggyback
that-
it on there.
On that workshop, I think that would be my suggestion if the rest of the board agrees.
And I only say it because it has been some months in the making, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Last fall, I think.
So again, to apologize to our new folks and the other folks for kind of dominating the conversation, but I think this is the time, if you have interest in things around town, you'd like our town manager to look into and get back to us. I think now's sort of the time to bring it up so he can come back to us next month. So,
I just have one
Yeah.
question, comment, and maybe you can answer right now. I'm just wondering on the progress of the main sport pump station. It looks like, from what I see, they're beginning to wrap up down there. I'm
Yes.
wondering when those barriers are going to be gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the barriers are going to be gone. What they did last week was they have to do tests, they have to fill the system with water, and then
I
they...
saw the fire truck down there.
Right.
oh, really?
And so they can't backflow, they can't backfill and close up the site until that test is done. So that test is done, and now they're starting to close up. I'm sure they're going to want to get out of there as quickly as possible. They've been sitting there for a long
Yeah,
time.
well, it does make it a little difficult to make a left-hand turn coming out of Main Street.
Particularly with the traffic building, the traffic's, it's getting
But
busier and busier.
today, I noticed it looked like they were doing some finishing on
Yep.
top of the ground or whatever, so I'm anticipating. I just wanted to confirm that they're probably near the end
They
there.
are near the end.
My little tidbit would be just the high school band letter, acknowledgement for their efforts.
Ooh, did I forget that again? No, no, you were going to do
I
that.
was gonna, yeah, I told Rick that I would take it and do that, then I will.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Update on streetlights.
Oh, yes, that was on
That's what
my
I'd
thing,
like,
too.
yeah.
list.
The most recent, they went out what day is today, Monday? They went out Friday. I got a report back. Let me see if I have it here from Randy.
I hope it's less than 26 or whatever the
Oh,
last
yeah,
one.
no, unfortunately, they haven't repaired the lights that
Everybody notices.
everybody notices.
Central Street,
Do we have dates on when they will?
Hold on.
It's like herding cats.
Yeah, I know. Let's see.
I forget where I was, while he's looking that up, I forget where I was reading it, but there was another town that was having the same issue with CMP, so
Well,
it's not us alone.
If you think 10% of what you pay them every year is just because of out streetlights, and if you figure in the towns around the state, I mean, they're doing pretty good.
Right. The list of streetlights that were out in May, the lights have,
I think there was a month and a half you were gonna let go. I think they were done in May, you were gonna let them go a month and a half to the 1st of July, and
well, it's been a month. It's been a
Right.
month since, for some reason, what Randy's sent me isn't opening up. But they've repaired about half of them. Let's see, we had 1, 2, 3,
well, once again, why don't we just have a more complete report from
we have
you
about
next
20
month?
We have about 25 of them out, that were reported out, and when they went out and checked again this time, about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them have been repaired out of that time frame.
But not some of the ones that you designated as priority.
No, not the ones that we, what, as I said earlier, it may, let me get that list open again. Which ones are they repairing? They're repairing ones that looks like that are probably those Cobra Head streetlights. And Mark, you know this better than I do. You know, out on Beach Hill, are those Cobra Heads out there? On Commercial Street, Rockland Street?
commercial would be.
Yep, Spear Street in Warrington.
As the chairman indicated, I'd be okay, next time around
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
detailed list
Yeah.
of what's gonna get fixed and when.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that rather than try to do it on the fly, let's just do that
Yep.
next month, so. Any other questions of the town manager? Okay.
I would
Yes.
just like to go back for a minute to, you asked the question about, and Rick responded about, was the cost of the registration on the taxpayer on the town? And you said that the decision had been made, but what was that
The
decision?
decision was that the user bears the cost.
Okay, that's what I sort of assumed from the credit card comment you made, but I
Yeah,
wanted
we-
to make that clear.
Particularly with taxes, with the taxes, we have an obligation
Mm-hmm.
to collect the taxes. So we can't say, we're gonna absorb the cost of the payment of those taxes.
Right.
We have the obligation to collect all of those taxes.
Right.
And so the same will apply with
Yeah.
the board voted quite a while ago.
And I think
Yeah, I think
it
that's the
makes
right
sense because
decision.
the consumer is paying a little extra for a service.
Right.
I think-
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
getting the convenience.
I agree with that.
One of the things I think I'm hearing Doug say is in requesting dates, anytime there's an item like the generator or the sidewalks or anything that you could give us a date that it will be done by, Rick, rather than us asking you, you can say, yep, generator will be in by the,
Yeah, I
Well,
can't say today when the generator.
no, I'm just saying that, if there's an item that you know will be done by, that way we don't have to ask when it will be done by, it's just,
Yeah, it's hard, some of these things, it's hard for me to get an exact date, even like the sewer. It's all, will depend on when the testing, when the test gets done.
Relative to that, Astra, the report it, fix it module.
Oyster, yeah.
Oyster, okay. It said that's in progress. It would be good to know when that would be ready to go as well.
He said September 1st to the
September
Sorry.
15th.
is the-
Yep.
wonderful, great headway.
Oh,
It's all paid for, it's just a matter of him implementing it.
I had one question on the collection of the emails. Do you have any idea of how many emails you've been able to collect? I mean, was that a pretty
On the
successful
non-tax
effort?
paying?
No, on the.
No.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
We collected, I think the number was close to 200 new emails. When we compared it to the list Diane has on the, because you can sign up for email stuff through the website, it seems to me that there were like 1,200 email addresses that are on that site, but when they started looking at them, nobody ever really looked to see what email addresses were in there. And they're going through them now, but out of the 1,200, probably half of them were just bogus email addresses that some internet surfer thing was plugging in. So, but I think we're gonna get about probably 500 or 600 emails out of that list, and then we'll have the other list. And we're continuing to push to get more email addresses and reach out to people. Also, Diane has been doing more with pushing out information through Facebook. So Diane has been using that a lot more. So pretty much every day, I think, she's posting something that the town is doing on Facebook. My manager's report now is going out on Facebook, and one of the first comment I got back was, "I'm glad to see we're going to the online auto registration, thank you." So people are actually reading it, so.
Yeah, I think an up-to-date, accurate email list would be a very valuable asset to the town.
Yep.
So,
Well, I wonder, and Diane would be more the expert on this, but I wonder whether we, once a year, because you say there are so many bogus ones, maybe we need to send out an email for people to say, please respond if you want to stay on the list.
Right, yeah.
It's a good idea,
Because
yeah.
people may move out of town or change their email provider or something like that, and after a while, you get a bloated list that's not that valuable anymore.
Speaking of dates when things are due, I see the Oshkosh is piggybacked on a trailer ready to leave.
Yeah, they were leaving tonight, tomorrow morning, at 4 in the morning.
And when does that due back?
It's going, we don't know. Again, until it gets up there and they look at it, we're not even 100% sure. They're taking it up there. They've got to take it up there and have it gone through, and then decide are they going to have them up in, where is it?
Limestone.
Limestone.
Yep.
Okay, would that be something that we could get for the July 9th meeting?
The time when it's going to be done,
Well, would they be able to provide you with an estimate?
an estimated time, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll know in the next couple days.
All right. There's no unfinished business, so let's go on to new business, and we've decided to get Scott to go ahead here. This is a consent agreement that I'm going to have Scott explain that had to do with our shoreland zoning. I really didn't understand this when I first saw it in the packet, so I tried to educate myself a little, but it was clear that if we had Scott here just to tell us briefly what the issue was and how it's been handled, I thought that would be the most efficient way to do it. So without further ado, Scott, do you want to go through the process with us?
I can put my glasses on, I'll feel like I've joined your thinking.
Well,
Okay, we'll
thank
just
you
all
very
take
much,
ours
Scott.
I'm the town's code enforcement officer, Scott Bickford. And one of the things I enforce is shoreland zoning violations, whether it be a structure too close to a property line, or too many trees cut down that are beyond what the state minimum guidelines allow. Excuse me. The minimum guidelines come under a statute, and we're obligated to either be the same as a statute or more restrictive, and we are more restrictive. So we've had a person that cut down too many trees in the 75-foot buffer. There's a formula to follow on how many trees have to remain, and it works 25 by 50 rectangles, contiguous to each other, from sideline to sideline. In this particular case, there was no trees left standing. So I went after him with a notice of violation, and if he wanted to argue it, he could appeal it. That was his option. It was explained in the violation notice. I explained what I saw, what I felt he was guilty of, and explained he could appeal it. And after the appeal, he could even take it to court. And I believe he would have lost both times. So he came into the town office and we sat down and discussed it. And I told him one thing he could do is to pay a penalty and replant trees. And if you look at that closely, I'm saying replant 16 points for every rectangle and guarantee the growth for a period of time. What I haven't told him is how big the trees have to be, because the larger the tree, the more it's worth in points. So to get 16 points, you could have a 12-inch tree, which is 12 points, or you might have a 4-inch tree, which is 2 points, or you might have a sapling, which is 1 point. So consequently, if he wants to have 16 points and plant trees that's only a foot high and guarantee the growth on those trees, he'll be putting in 16 trees versus maybe half of that amount if they're larger.
It's my understanding, too, that they're guaranteed for 5 to 10 years.
They guaranteed, it's in the consent agreement.
Yep.
And also, this plan that he has to put together has an expense to that, too. It has to be done by a licensed arborist or a licensed forester. And the plan has to be approved by the code officer. I want to make sure that it does meet the point system. So the offender has decided that this is his choice. The copy you have, he has signed. If you sign the copy without changes, that will be what he will do. If you decide you want to change it, you have that right, but then we start over, and the consent agreement will have to be redone.
And you're okay with the way that it's
I think
before
it's
us
fair.
now?
I think it's fair. I might have been a little heavy on this because he sent me an email saying that I was restricted from going on his property. Our legal department said I can fix that tomorrow with the court, but I didn't think that was necessary because I walked down the sidelines and took photographs looking straight across without any trees to block the view. So I used my judgment that I don't know how many trees he took out. Maybe he didn't take out the 16 points per rectangle, but he didn't let me on the property to determine that. So I used the 16 points.
Is he cooperative at this point? It sounds like, from your discussion, it sounds like it's a little bit of an antagonistic relationship.
It started that way, but it changed.
Okay.
It's funny how that works.
It's funny how that works, yes. I
Okay,
run into this often. This is not new to me.
And so you're happy with the way that
I
this
think
is
that's fair.
presented to us?
Yes, I think that's a fair end result.
Unless anybody has any questions, Mr. Chair, I'd vote to approve the attached consent agreement as presented,
we have a motion.
Second.
just so that we can talk about it further.
Yep, any other discussion? Scott, thank you for your work on this. Again, it's a complicated issue for someone who doesn't deal with it every day, and again, your expertise is appreciated.
Go ahead.
Discussion?
Yep. Discussion.
The way you have it written, is there any ambiguity in any of the corrective action? Or is it straightforward so that you can go look, see that it's done by the book as the consent decree
I don't
requires?
think there'll be any problem with him allowing me. I have to be able to count the points, so,
Okay, so you need to validate and verify after the work is done?
yes. And I did run this by our legal department.
Okay.
And the amount of the penalty, is there any guidelines given for the amount of the penalty, or that was just a negotiated amount, or what?
That wasn't even negotiated. That was my offer. And if I'd offered less, I think it would have been just wrong.
Oh,
It's not the
Agree.
monetary so much as it is the lesson he's learning about what happens if he cuts trees he shouldn't.
yeah, don't misinterpret, I mean, I think that's the least that should be paid for that.
I would agree with that, but I was pretty heavy-handed on the number of points to go
Yeah.
in.
And I guess one more question along what Jeff talked about. The consent agreement says that after 10 years, he'll have so many points or whatever. Is there something, and I haven't read it carefully, is there something that says that he's got to get going on this right now, or could he wait 10 years and then hire somebody to come in and put the trees in?
Got a date there in September, I believe.
Yeah.
The penalty has to be
And
paid by the
replant.
16th.
No?
Replanting by November 1.
Okay. So it has to start. That was my question.
That's the
It says
plan.
replanting shall be completed by November 1st.
Right, okay, that's good.
And that was by agreement. I mean, he was well aware of that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion? 5-0 unanimous. There are 2 copies to be signed here by the select board. I'll pass those down. You can take care of that. All right.
Stay around if you want.
Okay, the next item under new business is Ralph and Hunani Wallace have donated a kayak rack to the town. We need a motion to accept that rack.
Motion, we accept the rack?
Is there a second?
Second?
May I just say your name?
Oh, how do we spell it?
It should be Haunani.
Boy, I'll tell you. So are you the Wallaces
Yes.
right here? You just came to visit?
Well, we're new residents in town, and so we have to come to watch something.
Well, that's wonderful.
I sat on your side of the dais for many, many years.
Okay, all righty.
So you have a kind of a busman's holiday.
Well, well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I was remiss to not have asked sooner, but,
I won't make that error again.
No problem, and you know, it happens all the time.
And I've already been trying to recruit them for volunteer positions.
well, perfect. Well, okay, so we have a motion, a second. Is there a discussion?
My only discussion is thank you.
Yes, thank you very
It's,
much.
That space down there is always full, which I'm sure you realize very quickly, and so it's nice to have a little more space for people to be able to enjoy the harbor.
All right, all in favor of the motion? Very good. I was putting together a thank you card for them, which I did. Right off the bat. So what I'll do is I'll ask the select board members to sign this, and we'll give it to you, and we'll save the town a stamp. So, how's that for fiscal responsibility?
We're cutting back, Rick.
You're doing your part.
Save that stamp.
Save that.
All right. Next on the agenda here is, we actually have a couple of committee resignations. Do we need to make a motion to accept them?
Yeah.
All right, well, so Jeff Hamilton's resigning from the Harbor Committee. because he was elected to the select board, and Peter sent us a note, Vanderkeef sent us a note, he's going to resign. So I'll entertain a motion to accept those resignations.
I move to accept the resignations of Jeff Hamilton and Peter Vanderkeef and to send them a letter of thanks for their service.
Second?
Be busy writing those letters.
I abstain.
Any discussion? All in favor? And the vote is, you voting, Jeff?
No, I abstain.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah, okay, well, he abstains with good reason, so it's 4-0.
Shouldn't
One
you
abstain.
want to make two different motions? I didn't think about that.
I think it just gets through there. Moving on to committee applications. So, what we have here now is, well, it's kind of an interesting story. You'll have to go through your packet. But basically, at the current time, there are two people that are alternates to the Harbor Committee. One is Parker Hackett, and the other is Peter Ralston. In addition, we have Scott Whitman, who has an application in your packet applying to be on the Harbor Committee. So we basically have three people applying for two positions. And I think we probably want to have a little bit of discussion around how we want to best handle this. The chairman of the Harbor Committee is Sam Temple, and he is like the general manager down at Rockport Marine. I don't know if I have his title correct. But also, Parker Hackett works down at Rockport Marine's my understanding. I'm not quite sure in what role. So it does raise the question, do we elevate the alternate Parker Hackett up to the Harbor Committee and then have two people from Rockport Marine there? Do we want to get Scott Whitman, who manages the lobster buying facility down there? Do we want to get him on the committee ASAP? So I think before we make it, well, does someone want?
Scott's here, if you wanted to interview
Oh,
him.
Scott, I didn't see you.
If you
Well,
want to
let's,
interview
yeah,
him.
Scott, why don't you want to step up to the microphone and tell us, yeah, go ahead.
Before, I just wanted to know that in our packet, we do have a letter from the chairman of the committee asking to move the alternates into full-time positions on the committee. I just want to make that clear.
Okay. Everybody understand that?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've also been a proponent of anybody that is going to be before us for a committee member to be here. Yeah, I know, but you got three.
But they've
Clarifying question, were the alternates brought to the select board when they first were appointed as alternates?
I believe so.
And reviewed as regular members were?
I can't answer that, I wasn't here.
They had to be appointed by the select board.
As an alternate, even as an alternate,
Yeah,
so they've been.
alternate members, they have been appointed by the select board previously.
Okay.
I know Peter Ralston was. I'm not sure about did Patrick.
Whether they physically appeared or not is,
Peter did, I know Peter did.
yeah, and I want to say Parker did too, but I don't remember. To be quite honest.
So we have
But
Mr. Whitman.
They have been voted in by the select board.
Mr. Chairman, you have Mr. Whitman.
Yes, Scott, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on the Hobbit Committee?
Well, I've run several different operations on the mid-coast. I've seen problems in harbors before and been a part of solving those problems. I just think communications is really important. I don't know, I had a few people from town ask me to apply for this position.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know.
What problems do you perceive there to be down here?
What problems do I perceive? Well, there is problems occasionally between fishermen and recreational use. I don't see a particular problem, but I'd like to be a part of solving them.
Okay.
And our harbor master has recommended his appointment to the
Yes.
committee, is that right?
in some form.
She recommends
either-
as an alternate member.
As an alternate, oh.
And I guess I would
You're-
ask
see.
Scott, how do you
Yes.
feel about becoming an alternate member?
That would be absolutely fine.
Okay.
And I think we have maybe another change in that committee coming
We
up
may.
sometime in the near future.
Yes, yeah, well, that's true, too.
That's, alternates don't last as alternates very long.
No.
Yeah, and I think it actually, in my opinion, it gives you an opportunity to learn the workings of the committee and, you know,
Right.
with a little bit less load on your shoulders at first. Alternates are most valuable when they come to meetings a lot and they learn a lot. And,
Yes.
I think that, and certainly, at least with, I haven't been involved with the Harbor Committee, but I've been involved with a lot of other committees, and alternates who come are always, you know, welcome to the discussion. They're not sitting off in a corner someplace. When it comes to the vote, the only way you can vote is if a regular member is not there. But,
Right.
Plus, we anticipate an opening, like you said,
Right,
very
right.
shortly, so.
Right.
Okay.
I have no problem with being an
Okay.
alternate
And
whatsoever.
I have to say, Scott has been great about, over the past few years, about keeping that area cleaner for us, working with the town. It's, you kind of have two conflicting uses with the Lobsterman and the Boat Club right in such close proximity to each other. And I think the relations have improved. They're not complementary uses but I think I think it's improved. I think the area is much cleaner down there, with Scott's help, so.
To spill the beans on something, the Harbor Committee has written, mainly Lobster, a gracious thank you and recognition note for the amount of improvements that have occurred in that part.
Oh, really?
So stay tuned, it's coming in a mailbox near you.
Oh, that's
You
very
didn't
good.
You didn't hear it from
I
us.
didn't hear it here, no.
And I just want to add to that recommendation, too. Early this spring, when the Keep Rockport Beautiful people wanted to go down and just tidy up the waterfront there, I went down and introduced myself to Scott, and he was gracious and helped us get organized. And like Jeff just said, every time I go down there now, between Scott and Jason, I think Jason has to get a lot of the credit, too.
Oh, definitely.
It's a working harbor, that's great, and you guys keep it tidy, and we can really be proud of it. And a couple weekends ago, I had to borrow a crate for a family reunion, a lobster cookout, and Scott let me borrow one of their crates down there. So I can't say enough good things about the guys that are down there running it now.
Well, and Abby's note, talking about the improved communication means a lot, too.
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a
Just
motion. Yes.
one other discussion point, if I could. I'm trying to remember. Do Harbor Committee members or any committee members sign the conflict of interest agreement at the front end?
You don't sign an agreement, it's just part of the policy. It's part of the
Okay.
charter.
Okay,
So
for each of the
they-
committees. So
Yes, they-
essentially, we're bound by,
You're
okay.
still bound by
Because
the
that
same
will
thing.
address your other concern, which was how many people from what organization participate in
Yeah.
a Harbor Committee.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
har-
the only issue-
Clarify that a little bit
I mean, the
more.
only issue I think that would come up would be if there was a matter involving Rockport Marine, a financial
Yeah,
matter,
right.
then the members that work for Rockport Marine might have to step back.
The current members I have observed as being a committee member on that committee for the last year, pending my recent resignation, abstain when it comes to matters where a conflict of interest may be at hand.
Okay. And presumably for Scott, too, if there was someone with the
Well, at some
lobster,
point, I mean,
they have to-
the contract will come up for renewal
Yeah.
for
Right.
the use of that, and the
Okay.
Harbor Committee will make a recommendation
Yeah.
along with Abby, and I would expect
Okay.
that Scott would.
Yeah, and the Harbor Committee is mostly advisory, and so there's.
Yeah, that's right.
They
Yeah, they don't make any binding
Not
votes. It's just,
quasi-judicial,
Right.
as we say.
So,
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to appoint Scott Whitman as an alternate member of the Harbor Committee, and I don't recall whether alternate members have terms or not. I don't think so.
Term to
Oh, is there-
expire
Okay,
June
term to expire June 30th, 2021. Thank you.
3-year deal.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you
Look
for
forward to
volunteering.
working with you, it's
Thank
great.
you.
All right. Now, do we
Now,
also
we need
to-
another motion.
I motion that the two alternates as listed are move to full-time membership on the Harbor Committee
And need that term expirations for
Yeah.
those too.
with the June 30th, 2021 expiration.
And that's in referencing Peter Ralston and
I'm
Parker
sorry,
Hack.
yes.
Okay, is there a
I
second?
second the motion.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Vote is unanimous,
You
thank
just
you.
jumped down to, where am I?
H.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
Yeah.
That's
Highly
okay, you're
efficient.
moving right along, I like it.
that's,
Yeah.
trying to keep up with us.
Well, that's what I alluded to, that it's all sort of connected, so I even draw a line here between it to remind me. So, there are no committee presentations. Now, we need to do some housekeeping where we reappoint the town officers effective July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, and we have a list of those officers in our packet for your perusal.
I move to approve the list of annual reappointments of all town officials as required by Charter, Section 4, Part A, Section 1 of the Town Charter, as presented.
Second.
I second what he said. Go ahead.
Any discussion on this?
I think it's all pretty straightforward this year. In previous years, we've had a couple of issues, but it looks
Okay.
all good to me.
I looked it over, I didn't make any notes, but, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? And again, the vote is unanimous. Item F is just for information. We received a letter from the town of Islesboro noting our support in challenging the Department of Transportation's rate increase for the ferry. So they appreciated the note that we sent on their behalf. Item G, also included in the packet, are some letters from the kids at the Rockport Elementary School. And again, this is just for information. It was kind of fun reading through them in your packet.
It was fun reading through them, and I want to also mention that I was remiss, actually. I received a couple of letters from middle school students back a couple of months ago about similar issues, about, recycling and things of that nature, and I meant to get back to them, and I didn't. I just want to shout out to them right now, too. I think it's great that the school kids are involved, and I understand that it's an assignment that they have to probably do to get it checked off in the teacher's book or whatever, but on the other hand, they're getting involved.
If 2 or 3 out of that handful or 20 kids grasp onto what they're doing and go with it into the future, great.
It's
Yeah,
terrific.
I echo that, and I think that we should encourage it, and we love to see
Great.
that kind of citizenship.
One question that one of the letters sparked, and I'll ask the town manager this question. The kid noted littering, people tossing stuff out of cars and stuff. And can we ask Randy to cite people for tossing cigarette butts out? I know we pick an awful lot of them up during the roadside cleanup, and I guess that constitutes littering, and
Wasn't that in his recent email that he sent out, that he would be citing people for stuff like that?
well, I knew there was something,
Traffic
there was talk
violations, I
about
think, what
it.
he talked about. And I know this was brought up when we had the Keep Rockport beautiful folks here to report last time on the roadside cleanup, and I echo that. I'd love, so many times when I see somebody toss something out, I say, where is a police officer when you need him?
Yeah.
Because I would love to see people get cited for that. I'd love the town to get a reputation for
Yeah.
that, to say, hey, you better not toss anything out the window in Rockport because you're gonna get whatever the fine is.
I can tell you with great certainty, it's a hard thing to be at the right place at the right time to see that happening.
Right.
And I know we have gone in the past and picked trash out and gone through envelopes and letters and taken people's addresses and tracked them down in the past for bigger trash issues, but.
Well, yeah, but Mark, the other day I saw someone toss a cigarette butt out, and you're right, where are the police when you need them? But what I'm sort of saying is, and I don't know if we can do it this way, but would it be the pleasure of the board to direct the town manager to stress to the police chief that we would like to see some citations?
I
With
just
some-
did.
With something like that, Doug, you as a citizen can be a complainant, and with your written statement and the evidence that you will probably keep guard of, they can write a summons through that.
Yeah,
So, if you see it, report it.
all right, so, anyway. Harbor Committee, new member, we just did that. We've been through the Calderwood Lane corrective action. Now, we need to talk a little bit about what our liaison assignments are going to be, so why don't we find that page in our packet here. It is towards the end, and we're looking for this piece here, or on your computer. So I'm going to start. I'm already on 5 liaison committees. The Investment Committee, Keep Rockport Beautiful, Library Committee, Midcoast Solid Waste, and the Planning Board. And I'd be happy staying on those. I might make the comment, I really don't think the Library Committee needs a second liaison member, but that's just my opinion. I mean, if someone's dying to be on that committee to replace Tom Gray, that would be fine with me, but, you know, things seem to be moving along pretty smoothly.
I think there's only one liaison to that committee anyways. It just shows that you are replacing Tom Gray.
Right. Yeah, you
Oh,
weren't on there
I
together.
see, all right,
Yeah,
I
it's
got you, okay.
And I'll say, where I have only 1 year remaining on the board, I would rather not take anything new on. I'm happy to stay with what I'm on, which is Cemetery, Legacy Rockport, the Ambulance Committee with Mark. I'm happy to stay on that, even though I didn't end up on it initially last year.
Thank you, Tim.
Ordinance Review, ZBA, I went to 1 meeting at the ZBA last year, and that was my first year on that. If anybody has a real interest in the ZBA, I would be happy to offload that. I don't have a long history with it, but I'm happy to stay with it as well. One comment I'd make with Ordinance Review, I've been the liaison to that committee ever since I've been on the select board, so this would be my 7th year, so I have a little bit of institutional memory there, and I know how the committee works. It is an important committee. I would say that if somebody else is interested in that committee, I would want to stay on as liaison for this upcoming year, but if somebody else would like to attend those meetings, they are in the mornings, and I know that may cut some people out, but if somebody else would like to attend that committee and get up to speed on it, I'd be happy to have a second liaison there.
I think that would be a great idea if one of our new folks could consider that, because that is an important committee.
It's during the day. You do it.
I would be happy to do that.
It's a short season, but it's an intense season. Typically starts in November and has to finish up by March, and it's every
Okay.
week.
Every week?
Yep,
Wow.
every week, every Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
and we're out by 9.
Yeah, they are very efficient.
that's ordinance review, yeah.
And if you can't make it one week, it's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I think
But at least I can,
you can learn what's going on.
Right.
I think that would be important for that committee.
Okay, so we need some more folks to jump in here.
so, I would be happy to, be the liaison on the technology committee.
Okay, I mean, does that committee even meet?
Well, it hasn't been, lately, but, you know, I believe that it should meet,
Okay.
and I think it's important.
There's precedent for select board members jump-starting a committee, so.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that we had discussed at our organizational meeting was the fact that I think a number of us perhaps might want to see an economic development committee. I certainly support an economic development committee, and I would be happy to be liaison on that.
Okay, I'm hoping that's something we can talk about at the goals workshop coming up.
Okay, as
Okay.
opposed to a committee?
No, as
oh.
setting that committee up. and
Yes, oh, yes,
everything, so-
absolutely. So,
Okay.
so should I put that down as a?
Not yet.
Oh, not
Doesn't
yet.
We haven't
exist.
set
I
up
see.
a liaison.
I see, so you're not establishing the
Right.
committee yet?
No, but I want to talk about it and set one up.
Okay, and then the other question I have is comprehensive plan.
Okay, and let's see.
I mean, we need to have a committee on that, right, to continue the
Yeah,
work?
well, here's what's happening with that right now is we have a comprehensive plan review committee.
Right.
And they are just about, and I'm the liaison to that.
Right.
And they're just about to put together their final report to us, and then we're going to have a workshop where they present their report, and we as a board sort of decide where to go with that next. So, you know, you can reserve a spot on that, because that'll be coming up sometime this summer.
Yeah,
And I think
Okay.
that committee, from what Bill Chapman told us, is probably going to need some new blood.
Reconstitution.
It was really, it was a two-part process. The first part was to review
right, that's my
the document,
understanding.
which it's just about finished, and the
Right.
second part is going to be to revise, rewrite, whatever you want
Right.
to call it.
Right.
I also have an interest in that activity, part two,
I think
revise,
we-
rewrite.
I think we'd all better get interested in it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, is Bill willing to?
He said no.
He said
I
no.
think, I think almost everybody on that committee is, and we said that when we first set the committee up, that some people may be interested in just this first phase, and I think it has turned out that, Doug, you would know better than I, because you go to the meetings. I don't know that
Most of
there's anybody that's necessarily going to continue, so we have to sort of shake the trees and get some,
Yeah, it's-
get some new people out there.
Not
to
even
help.
Linda?
No.
At the workshop, we're gonna have
can-
to do that, but the committee's gonna have to really be reconstituted.
right, so we want to
So
discuss that.
there'll be some heavy lifting by who's ever the liaison.
Right, right. And maybe it is one where Jeff and I could both work on it if, you know,
Okay, yeah.
the heavy lifting can be shared. But we'll talk about that then at the goals
Yes.
workshop too?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Jeff,
So
when do these other committees meet?
the two committees I'd indicated an interest in earlier were the Capital Improvement Committee and the Harbor Committee. If you wish to stay on the Harbor Committee,
No, I do not. I mean, I like it, but no, I
I-
think
I
that'd
can
be
do the
great
Harbor
for
Committee.
you. Okay. So that would be you. Capital improvement. Mark, what do you think about, you were interested in capital improvement.
I'm already there, buddy. There's two of us.
Yep.
Tom and I. Well,
Yeah, that was a two-person liaison, I believe, as opposed to the other one where there's not a
Yeah,
name down
all
there.
right, so let's put Jeff on the capital
just
improvement.
question, when does that committee meet? What time of day?
they,
Usually in the afternoon, evening.
late afternoon, early evening, it's, more often than not, it's like a 5:30 thing.
Yeah.
All right,
Usually it's 5:30.
And they
because-
don't, you know, I had mentioned to the chair, but I'd like to get them sometime in August or whatever to jumpstart things and sift through what didn't get done and what did get done from the list they gave us.
Jeff, I would point out that the Pathways Committee does meet in the evening. I don't know if you have any
7.
interest in that or not. They meet at 7 o'clock in the evenings. So that might fit with your schedule a little bit better if you have an interest there. It's a great group of people.
That would be helpful. I've got 5.
Pathways.
They are a good group of people.
They
So.
get stuff done.
They do, they get stuff done.
Get stuff done.
So basically, this is going to leave us with the Opera House and Rec Committee.
Midcoast Solid Waste. you've got-
Well, we're going to make a motion to keep Owen, or
On.
ask Owen to stay on that, so.
And are you gonna do that
And yeah,
also?
I'll do it. I'm just getting started, so I'll carry through on that.
And
So-
you'll stay on that with him?
Yes.
Are we going to discuss at the goals committee or goals workshop or now the expectations of liaisons? I mean, I think that we should,
Yes,
That's a topic
this
that needs
was
to
something
be
actually I was
discussed.
interested too, because it has to do with minute keeping and
Absolutely.
reporting back. So why
Right.
don't we do that at the goals workshop? Because
Okay.
that, you know, we could revise how we do all of that, so.
So the dark shaded ones, or green, in the case of those that are color on their forms, Owen's ones need to be replaced.
Correct.
The,
And I would say to the new members, if you have any that you really have a particular interest in, don't be shy about pushing us older members off.
I just did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, because you know, taking on the chairman role here, it's going to be more time for me, and if,
so who spoke up for the Opera House Committee? We've got-
nobody yet.
We haven't gotten that far yet?
Nope, and the Recreation Committee, those now are the two that are
Left.
left.
I have another question, and that is, you know, we talked about whether or not, or we made mention of whether or not certain committees could be combined. And I thought Parks and Recreation was at one point one committee, wasn't it? And is that a committee that could be combined?
I don't remember
They
why.
split it off.
Yeah, why was it
It was
split?
split off
on
because
purpose.
there were some people that were really interested in parks And some people that were really interested, well, actually, there was nobody that was really interested in recreation. No one worked hard to get that recreation committee up and going. And now I believe both committees are very strong in the areas that they work on. I think if you combine them again, you're going to lose people. I really believe that. I think the Parks Committee has worked, and I think, Mark, you're the liaison to that committee, right?
Yes.
They've worked pretty hard, I think, at a lot of stuff and gotten a lot of stuff done, I think.
Yeah.
It does,
And they're also seasonal meeting people.
yeah. And recreation is to a certain extent also, but while at one point it worked well together, I think splitting them off, there was a little strife about it at first, but I think it's worked well, especially as Owen reconstituted the Recreation Committee. He got people on there who were really interested in recreation and have really advocated strongly for maintaining the fields and things like that. So my suggestion would be to keep them separate at this point.
Both of those committees, the Opera House Committee and the Recreation Committee, I believe we have staff that go to both of those meetings. So in the case of the Opera House, Andrew goes to that meeting, and in the case of the Recreation Committee, I believe Brandy is going to those meetings. So we have a staff person that attends those meetings as well.
And when do they meet?
Both of those meet in the mornings usually. Both of those are like 9 a.m. meetings.
Thursday morning, because I'm on that committee.
Yep.
Ah.
Oh, and you.
I'm on the ordinance committee, can't.
That's right, I forgot.
Can't be in
Linda's
two
a member of that.
places at one
Linda's
time.
Linda's a member of that committee as well, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So we have,
Of the Opera House or the, okay.
Opera House, yeah.
Well, to me, this kind of gets to the whole question of, the workshop question of the liaison responsibilities. I mean, it's one thing to say that if you have a question that you want to bring to the select board or you want to raise, then this is the person that you communicate with. It's another if we're expected to go to all of those meetings, and of course Jeff has a problem, we're both working.
Sure.
And so, so that kind of, it's kind of the cart before the horse in the sense that if, we
If I
can't.
could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I've always, when I've had liaison assignments, I've jumped in, head first and really become involved in the committee. And I've found, and I think with other liaison members that are on the select board, that you get to a certain level of expertise about the subject of the committee, and then, for example, when budget time comes around, that it's really helpful for the board to have somebody who's really been involved with whether it's recreation or cemeteries or whatever it is. So I think there is a role there. It's not just going and sort of observing. It's really, for me anyway, it's participating and really getting to understand the subject that the committee talks about. So I do think it's important to have liaisons to these committees.
And we've been moderately successful in getting them to now take notes as to what has happened and who's there, so that if we don't make a meeting, that material does eventually find its way to Diane's desk, and she includes it in our material.
And typically, if I miss a meeting, I would always call the committee chair myself and just say, hey, give me the lowdown on what happened at the meeting or something like that. I mean, because you are going to miss some meetings. That's just a fact of life.
Well, and I can't take on, three more, I mean, first of all, I can't be at two places at one time on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. But the other thing is that, as we've said in the candidates forum and at other times, you're discouraging people to be on the select board if you're expecting them to be, if you're taking working people and then expecting them to be at so many different meetings. I think that the burden needs to be, on the committee to make sure, especially through the staff people of the town who attend that meeting, to make sure that we have minutes so that the liaison can be responsible for understanding the work of the committee and what's going on at the committee without necessarily having to attend the committee meetings.
What I would like to do as chairman, just add my 2 cents worth and then maybe move on for the moment. But when I first joined the select board, I had reservations about the liaison positions. I thought there were probably other ways to do the same thing. Having been on it, I recognize there is some value to it, but I don't feel that strongly that I won't be open to looking at other ways to do the business of the committee. So I guess what I would suggest is let's put this also on the agenda for our goals committee. Let's talk this through a little bit more, see if we want to change how we've done business and go from there.
Okay, we still have
So,
two
yeah, well,
open
what I'm going to
committees.
suggest is for right now, like Deb says, we're going to leave rec committee and opera house without a liaison for the time being, because we'll have our goals meeting pretty quickly.
And if I could just add to that, Mr. Chairman, that if the town reps that are there at those meetings, make sure that they bring any issues to us if they feel it appropriate, that would be a suitable short-term solution to the quandary here as we get our selections done.
I'm not sure if they have official town representatives, and that again is sort of another issue I have.
It
that-
says Linda. And then Linda's a member of the Opera House
Yeah,
Committee.
Here I was trying to get you to take less
but it's,
minutes.
but she's not there
Oh,
to
not-
take minutes.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no,
We
no.
have a person who
Yeah.
Yeah.
does, he takes great minutes for
So
that.
Okay.
let's just, we'll worry about it at our goals committee and leave those two open for now. I don't think the sky will fall. Okay, so, everybody know their committee assignments?
Yes.
Has, I assume they have that Jeff and Deborah have been set up with the town
Yes.
calendar.
Oh,
Yes.
the calendar,
Yes,
I don't,
yes.
the calendar you got?
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes, calendar, email, we're good.
Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee. I'll let Rick explain what this is and
Yeah,
why
so
we
the-
voted the way we did.
In the manager's comments, you know, at the last meeting before the end of the last board, they voted to nominate me to be on the town's representative to the Legislative Policy Committee. And now there's an official ballot in there where people get to vote on the selection of who actually is going to serve on the Legislative Policy Committee. In this case, there are actually three people that are running. You'll see, you have the original, I think, where I vote. I thought it was asking me to vote, and so I checked off one of the other people and had to white it out. But you know, the board voted already to recommend me and get me on the ballot, so the thing would be to,
So in your packet there, you'll notice there are three candidates, Jay Filer, who's the town manager in Union, and Wendy Pelletier, who's been a select person in the town of Hope.
my heart isn't going to be broken either way.
Yeah, so,
This is, if I might.
Yes.
This is not just a representative for the town, it's a representative for the whole Senate district. For years, Bill Chapman on this board served in that capacity when he was no longer on the select board. Rick stepped in because he was there anyway, I guess, as a board member on those days and could attend the meetings. Jay Filer, I believe, has been on that committee for a long time also.
He has also.
And so we need, as a board, we need to decide to vote for one or two, not
Yeah.
more than two.
and again, just I'll state my opinion. I know Jay Filer and his family a bit, and I found would be a strong candidate, and I think Rick would be good in that position too. I'm not familiar with Wendy Pelletier, so I can't really comment there.
So were these filled out ahead of time? Because I already have two X's in my
That's
boxes.
the one where Rick said he
That's the
made the
one
mistake.
Rick made the mistake.
All right.
Right,
Well, I move to cast the town of Rockport's ballot for representation to the Legislative Policy Committee for Rick Bates and Jay Filer.
Is there a second?
I second.
Now we can have the discussion.
And again, as Doug said, Jay's been a longtime member of that committee. I've dealt with him on a few issues over the years and found him to be very thorough and we know Rick, but we'll elect him anyway.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Okay, I will mark the ballot again, and then ask Select Board to sign it here.
That's right.
Okay, we now need to vote to authorize additional monies from our reserve account for the design and engineering services at the library. There's an explanation under the manager's report.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that that is for the library work.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
You'll see two managers' comments things. There's the managers' comments that are for this thing, and then I included the managers' comments from the May meeting, which has a better explanation of what that was for. Basically, the library committee gave us $80,000, and the board said, okay, we're going to authorize the expenditure of $61,000 out of that at that point, $41,000 for expenses that had already occurred, and an additional $20,000 for design and engineering services as needed. We've gone through that $20,000, and they said, well, when you go through that $20,000, come back for the balance. So we've gone through that $20,000, and what we're working towards now is the design, the plan development phase, the design development phase, which normally is done after the bond is passed, but this will give us better data and better drawings to be able to bid, and not bid, but get pricing that is based on more detailed drawings. They're not construction drawings, but it's the next step in the design phase. So we're moving into that next step in the design phase in the hope that we'll be able to get better pricing up front. The
design team, if I might.
Yep.
The design team met last Thursday, and the architect and the engineer are going through getting, as Rick said, more detailed information for the estimating process. Given what happened with the school, we want to be really, really careful about how we estimate this so that we don't get a surprise when we actually put the project out to bid. And so, yeah, we're spending a little more money up front than we might ordinarily, and there is some risk to that. If it doesn't pass at the polls, the voters, then we would have spent that money and not have a project. But it's my opinion that if we can really get a solid number, an estimate number for the project, that we're going to be in a much better position, both in terms of the private foundation that's fundraising for the project and in terms of informing the voters, so that we can tell the voters with a straight face that we've done our level best on this, and we feel that this project is going to come in at the dollar amount that we're going to be dealing with.
Question, what's left in the, what does this bring the reserve balance to?
This will use that all up, depending on this, if you go down further, the design development drawings, that, for him to develop all of that will be between $15,000 and $17,000. $17,000 will put us over by a little bit. If it's down near the $15,000 range, we'll be under.
What are you looking at, Rick? Sorry.
If you go, I'm scrolling down, it's on the next page, after my manager's comments from the May meeting, it says design development drawings.
This is, it's
So-
sort of like, it took me a while to figure this out. Attached in your packet, there's a whole second agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Front half.
And that is where
Yeah.
the manager makes comments, so you,
So, yeah, so let me, so 15,000 is what we have left approximately.
You have approximately $20,000 left of the $80,000 that the library
Okay, no, I was
gave us.
just listening to something you said a minute ago, where you said 15 is okay, 17 would put us over.
Well, $15,000 is, $15,000 will, the estimate is to do these design development drawings that are on the list, develop the floor plans, review the building codes, revise building and wall sections, all of those things. He estimates, it's not a confirmed thing, he estimates that will be between $15,000 and $17,000. If it goes to the 17,000, Megan said that will put us just over the total of 80,000.
I'm looking at your memo here, Rick, and it says 41,000 and some change
Right.
for design engineering, plus an additional 20,000, that's 61,000. So we ought to have 18 and some change
Right.
left in that account, I would
Right.
think, at this point.
Well, I wouldn't say up to 20 then, because
Yeah.
you're going to be putting us over, wouldn't you?
Well, no, if we don't do 20, we'll be over. You know, if you said, okay, 18.5,
Yeah, and what'll end up happening is that I'll have to find the money someplace else.
Well, I'd rather just authorize what we have to give
In
him
that
and then
account?
try to find it later,
Okay.
rather than
If
just
we-
writing a
If we
check for
authorize
the.
18, which I think would, according to the numbers here,
Yep.
would keep us within the
Yeah, so
thing.
go
Is
ahead
gonna
and
be-
do that.
Sounds like that's going to be enough.
Change, yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
So the balance of the reserve is how much?
18 and...
some change.
18,800 something or other. If you look at the numbers up here in the packet.
Let's see if I can find it.
18.
There was 80,000, $41,110.49 was expended, and then an additional 20,000, so 80 minus $61,110 is what's left, so it's a little over 18,000.
I mean, I would rather have them try to make that work rather than giving them 20 and us trying to find the rest later.
Let's
Even
run
though-
those numbers again. So sorry.
No, it's
If you
good.
round it off to 18, that'll work, and then it'll leave you a little bit of money left over.
Difference between the 80 and the 40.
I mean, I'd much rather just tell them to do what they can with 18 than try.
Well, it's not gonna, they're gonna get the 18, it's gonna be, they're gonna do the work, and then they're gonna send us an invoice.
Right.
If the total comes up to more than 18, then Rick will have to come back to us and say, how do I find the money?
Well, one of the other things that the design team is working on is getting a owner's representative on sooner than later. And I just finished the, which I don't understand why it's still showing up as, with the wrong
Yeah,
title on
that's
it.
weird.
Yeah. Getting the owner's rep RFP out sooner than later, so that's going to be additional money to, because what will help us get better pricing estimates is having the owner's rep go through all this stuff and say, do you realize if you do this, it's going to cost you this much more money, or, if you know.
And I guess I'll,
Motion?
So what you're giving me the authority to use is, use that money that the library gave me. Other than that, I'll be trying to scrape
All right.
together money from other
balance
places.
is $18,899.51.
There you go.
Well, I'll move to authorize the expenditure of an additional 18,000 from the Design and Construction Reserve Fund for architectural engineering services and owner's representative services.
second.
Now, further discussion. Jeff isn't happy.
No,
Oh,
I'm,
is he smiling?
I wasn't sure, okay.
He was smiling.
All in
good.
favor of the motion?
here we go.
All right, that leaves us with $899.51. I was remiss under the liaison report. Our manager has talked to Owen Casas, and Owen is willing to remain on the Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation board, along with myself. And I guess, again, according to Rick's comments, this is perfectly legitimate to have him on there. He's willing to do it. That board has suffered from frequent turnovers, and so I think it would be a valuable asset to keep Owen on there. So I would ask for a motion.
Motion that Owen stays on that
And
board
we have to
as
appoint you,
recommended.
actually, too. So I'll move, if you don't mind, I'll move to appoint Owen Casas and Doug Cole as Rockport's representatives to the Midcoast Solid Waste Board of Directors.
Second.
I second my original motion.
I didn't hear you mention Doug's name at all.
Yeah. And let's see, is there a vote? I'll abstain because I'm in that motion, so, all in favor?
I don't know if I want to do it to you, Doug.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. so.
It is.
Okay, so I'm sorry for that little detour there.
401. I've got a detour at the end too, by the way. so-
Okay.
Great.
Let's see, the internal control policy workshop has already been set. Do we
You should vote on that,
vote
Dave.
on it? Okay, so I need a motion for the internal control policy workshop, July 16th at 5:30.
I motion that we have the internal control policy workshop on the date so stated.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Just want to make sure that these guys get the previous year's materials if they can.
For the
No,
internal.
that's for the goals.
All the
Goal
goals.
setting.
Sorry.
This is the
Different
internal
workshop.
controls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a note in there for the, that's a good idea, Mark. I'll have a note in there.
Approval of the fire truck lease purchase agreement. On your desk here, we have a last-minute changes that were made for our lease purchase for our new fire truck. Rick, do you want to?
Everything is pretty much in the manager's comments that, that in the backup that she provided, she said that suggested motion that we had down at the bottom was incorrect. We needed to use the new language. The board needed, in spite of the fact that you've voted and approved this and reapproved it a number of times, they want some belt and suspenders here. So we have to take another action to approve all of this. And Ken, you'll remember this. I think you've got a memory like a trap. This happened in 2016, she said, where we had to go back and revote
Yeah,
something.
and
that-
do we have to read this whole thing as the
Yeah,
motion?
Yep.
So the fire truck is down in Brunswick.
Yeah, it's, all yeah.
What if we don't do this?
We still have to pay for it.
Well, I know that.
But then we have to somehow come up with it, instead of bonding it, we have to pay for it out of someplace else, which we don't
All
have.
right, where's the paperwork that we signed, by the way?
That you signed previously?
No,
No.
that we do sign once we make.
No,
a-
all you have to do is do
Just
that, and then
approve
it's all,
All right.
it's all, that's.
All right,
that
I'll
is-
start reading.
Go ahead.
I move to, one, I move that a capital acquisition project, the project, consisting of the lease of a 2018 E1 Typhoon pumper truck and associated accessories is hereby approved, and all actions of town officials relating to such lease undertaken on June 1st, 2018 are hereby ratified and approved. And two, that the award for the financing of the project in the principal amount of $600,000 to Androscoggin Bank at an interest rate of 4.19% is hereby ratified. And three, that the actions of the treasurer and the chairman of the select board are hereby ratified and authorized, acting jointly or individually in executing the lease purchase agreement and all of the documents reasonably necessary to accomplish the purpose of this vote as the documents may require. And four, that we confirm that said lease is hereby designated a bank-qualified tax-exempt obligation of the town for the 2018 calendar year under the provisions of Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended.
I move to approve the fire truck lease purchase as agreement.
Well, that was,
No,
that was the
that-
motion. All you need is
We
a
need
second.
Second.
But you don't have to read the whole thing.
I'm just doing what.
No, that's what the change was. We had to read the whole
The
thing.
change.
You're just gonna,
All right, so do we have a second?
I think Mark seconded.
Yes, I did.
Okay, now discussion.
Just a question on the interest rate. Is that what we were expecting? It seems a little high to me.
yeah.
They gotta make it all up.
If that's, I mean, that must be what we've negotiated or
Megan has
whatever.
looked at this like 15 times. Let me just double check with her.
Oh, yeah, anyway.
Okay,
It's been motioned.
If she picks up.
Otherwise, it's, it's boilerplate.
She's looked, she and the lawyer have looked at this about 15 times, so that's.
Well, then that's,
can we table that or something and go to
I
the
would-
next item while we wait to hear back?
yeah, that's fine. There isn't, is there a next item?
Well, I want to add one thing.
Can you
So while that's pending.
add something that's not on the agenda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can. Let's see, at the next meeting, I want to spend some time talking about a consent agenda. Deb sent some material out, and so that material will be distributed to all of us. Let's take a look at it, review it ahead of time, and then I'll ask Deb to lead a discussion how that might be applicable to our situation here. So that'll be on the agenda.
For the workshop agenda?
No, for our next meeting agenda here. The
July 9th.
July 9th. What is the pleasure of the group? You want to go ahead and approve the motion we have on the table? 4.19%?
Yes.
I just asked the question, and I don't want to hold it up.
We've had a motion.
Yeah, the motion's on the floor.
That was second.
Call
Yeah.
the question.
All right, so on the question, on the discussion portion before the vote,
Yeah.
the terms of the lease are how long?
In terms of the lease,
Oh, it's
It's a lease purchase.
Lease purchase, 3
Correct.
years, I believe it is.
3 years?
So at the end of the
Still
3
not-
years, we own the truck.
Yep. Still nothing from, nothing from Megan.
Well, I'm okay with, if it's, I can't imagine that it's wrong if they've checked
Yeah.
it and rechecked it that many times.
Right, they have.
And we can revote it if we have to, but I was just a little surprised that it was that high.
No, she's obviously not near her phone.
okay. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? None, it's unanimous. We don't have a wastewater commission liaison report. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up from their liaison? Mark, you want to start?
A couple of weeks ago, I think it was the Conservation Committee met. They talked about doing more elaborate arsenic testing around. They were very happy with well water testing. They were very happy with some of the results that they had gotten back, and they're also looking for more volunteers. That's the short story on that.
I had my well water tested a couple of years ago. Would they be interested in having that result for the? 'cause
Absolutely. I
Not
think-
necessarily. I know they went out and offered people testing, I think, but if they would like to have mine, I'm happy
No, I
to share
think,
it.
I think they would, because they're trying to, develop a little
Plot it, yep.
plot as to where things are bad and where they aren't, and try to make those that,
I'll try to remember, but rattle my cage
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I forget.
they just want to make people aware and that there are opportunities at a minimal cost to have your stuff tested. And I think it was, $40 sounds like a number that rings a bell, but I don't know that to be 100% accurate, but it's
Sounds
worth,
about right.
it's worth the effort. And they were talking about, the plastic straws again and plastic bags and things along that nature, and the plastic that gets washed up on the beaches from other sources. It's a pretty energetic group, and they're just getting back up and going from a little hiatus.
Ken?
The only one of mine that's met has been Legacy Rockport, and they have, that committee has been reinvigorated a bit over the last 6 months or so. They have new co-chairs, Dave Jackson and Charlton Ames. They're working on helping the Simonton Corner Hall with their refurbishment, and they're involved in the Andre project, and are looking to sort of get the word out about what it is they do. And for those who aren't familiar with it, it is a 501c3. The mission is basically to help things happen in Rockport. They can act as a pass-through for donations, so if a organization in town has a project that the Legacy Rockport feels will benefit the town, then they can get hooked up with Legacy Rockport. Legacy Rockport is not necessarily a fundraising group, but it's a group that helps with administration of these things. And so, for example, Simonton Corner Community Hall is not a 501c3, but if they have somebody who wants to donate a large amount of money to help with their renovation project, because Legacy Rockport has taken on that project and stated that it's of interest to the town, then people can donate the money to Legacy Rockport, get the tax deduction, and then the pass-through will happen to the Simonton Corner folks. So, that they, and they also participated in the redoing of the safety rails up on the balcony of the Opera House here. So they were replaced with, or are going to be, I don't know whether the work has been done yet or not.
Oh, I don't know.
But
I don't think
replace
there
the brass bars with plexiglass so that those
Yes,
sitting up
that
there
hasn't been done yet.
can see through. But anyway, there's, the Legacy Rockport helped with that, so.
A little update with the Andre the Seal is we're a little over 5,000 with the GoFundMe, and in talking with Mike today, his Andre is back together, and you'd hardly know he had a scar.
Good. And I would add that what Legacy Rockport did at the last meeting was to agree to keep the fundraising window open until September 1st, so that, for example, on the day when people see Andre unveil, if people were unaware that it was going on and they'd like to donate some money, they still have the opportunity to do that. At this point, as Mark said, we will have more than the bill, and so there will be a line kept that Legacy Rockport will have custody of those funds, and those funds will be able to be used in future years for the annual seal coating. and No pun intended.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
But
waterproofing.
But also some, if there's some improvements needed around the area, if the turf has to be dug up or something like that. So there'll be a amount of money there, meaning that money won't need to come out of the town budget. So there's been a nice response. The GoFundMe thing, I've been amazed at that, how well that has worked. It worked for the Rockport, Texas thing that we did last year. We had a goal for that, and we doubled that goal within, 3 days or something like that, and we're able to help them out quite a bit, so it does work. And Legacy Rockport is moving more toward using the online donation and the GoFundMe things for other projects that they take on to make it easy for people to donate money.
If there is money available, one suggestion from a resident came to me regarding the power outlet that's right next to Andre and potential relocation.
Yeah, that's been an issue with the garden club, I know.
Yeah.
Well, if there's money that could be used for that, it may be a
We'd
good
have
thing to do.
The Legacy Rockport Board would have to vote on that, and there is an issue too with, and Rick can bring us up to speed on that, is that there has to be power somewhere in that vicinity in the park for various different events and things that go on. I don't know how much that thing could be moved.
One of the things about that power outlet, it was sited where it ended up going because there were bushes there and it was kind of hidden. And then when the garden club decided they wanted to take the bushes down, then all of a sudden the power outlet, which nobody ever really noticed was there, became really visible. So, while it looks a lot better now without the shrubs there, it's much more visible now because the shrubs are gone. But it's on a location which I believe is where the power line is buried to get power to the docks. So the power runs underground, I believe, right through close to there to get power to the power down to the docks.
Yeah, I mean, people run power every day. I'm just
Yeah,
saying if there is money
right.
that could be available, moving that 30 feet in one direction or another could be of perceived benefit.
Yep.
So noted.
So do you still feel like you want to be on a committee? Just thought I'd ask, now that you, yeah.
Okay, and none of my committees has actually met, so I don't have anything.
I would ask, Rick, do we have an ambulance meeting anytime soon? It seems like we got to get going on a schedule
be
of
in a-
those.
It was just going around today.
didn't see
No, you didn't see it. The managers have been talking about scheduling one for August.
Yeah.
Because we have to talk about the amendments. Remember, there was some amendments that needed to be made, 2 amendments that need to be made.
I have an unofficial report.
Yes.
As you know, I'm on the Technology Committee, which I realize now I need to send a letter, I guess, to resign from the Technology Committee, but, just a housekeeping matter. But I tagged along with Rick today to a Camden, Economic Development Committee meeting, Rick?
Yep.
And Fletcher Kittredge was there from GWI and talking about fiber, and there are some really interesting things, as we've noted in our candidates forum and some other forums earlier. There are some very interesting things going on now in the past few years with respect to potential funding of fiber optic that wasn't around 3 years ago, and hence another reason why I think as a town we just need to be on top of that and revisit that whole effort.
Okay.
The only thing I would like to add is, as a little bit of a nudge, again, coming up out of the harbor, when you look right towards the bridge, you can't see the bridge. or anything coming towards you.
Coming up, okay.
Yeah, you're sitting at the stop sign, you can't see anything coming across the bridge at you when you pull out onto the road, or if you cross the road.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, it's
Just the
grown up.
brush?
Yeah, it's the brush, rose bushes.
Okay, so liaison reports are finished. Is there any call for executive session? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion, we adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you all for making this painless.